there she is.
We had like a scheduling issue, and I caught me in like the middle of editing a music video, and I'm like in my pajamas. But if you're cool with that,
I'm totally cool with that. I just wish I would have known. I would have been in my pajamas too. Kiesza, it is so great seeing you again, and it is awesome having you on the 10-year anniversary of Hideaway.
I know.
Welcome to America's Dance 30 for the first time.
Thank you. It's so good to be here.
And we were just talking about how there was some scheduling issues. I appreciate you doing this in the middle of your video shoot.
Well, it's not a video shoot. So I shot a spontaneous music video to celebrate I Go Dance going #1, and I literally planned it in less than 24 hours. Somehow had so many people show up, including pole dancers, and like Toronto really turns up. Let me tell you that.
Yes, they do.
And I edit my own music videos, so I've just been rushing to edit this thing. My wrists are literally swollen. And then there was a scheduling. I guess it never ended up in my calendar. So my manager is just like, "Oh my gosh," calling me like, "You're supposed to be on camera." And I was like, "I'm in my pajamas." And I was like, screw it. I'm like, I break every other rule. I might as well.
Why not break those rules too? Absolutely. Well, congratulations, and I Go Dance going #1.
Thank you. It's actually my first, I think, #1 in the U.S.
How is that possible? How did Hideaway not go #1?
I thought about that. I think it was just timing because House was like bubbling in the UK and it was crossing over to the U.S. So I think it was just a little ahead of its time.
It's so crazy because not only was it a huge dance song, but it also crossed over to top 40 radio. We were playing it here locally. So that just blows my mind.
I appreciate you playing it.
Well, don't thank me. Thank our program director. But I'll take all the credit.
Thank you, program director, and you.
Yes. Now, before we talk all about I Go Dance and find out how this #1 was born, a lot of people might not know the insane comeback story that you've had to endure. Can you share just really quickly what you've gone through?
Yeah, so in 2017, I was in a car crash, and I wasn't driving. I was in the backseat of an Uber, and a cab ran a red light and T-boned us. And I sustained a terrible brain injury, which through this whole process of recovery, I've had to relearn to read to a certain extent. I lost my balance on the left side of my body for quite a few years. And then many other things that I was dealing with, which are a lot of them are hard to explain. But just I was in bed most of the time, in a dark room most of the time because I couldn't handle light. So, I mean, I always tell people it's sad because everything about my career is the worst thing possible for an injured brain. Lights, crowds, noise, just chaos. And so every time I would try to do my career, my brain would just swell up and I'd have to go lie down for sometimes a week. I don't know if you ever saw the Crave music video where I'm just dancing alone. It was like my first dancing that I attempted after in the middle of my recovery, but I actually had to go to bed for like a week after making that music video. So everything I did came with a great cost. And there are times when I really ask myself, is it worth it? Like, is doing my passion worth the suffering that comes with it? And I guess it was, because here I am. I pushed through so much, and now I'm just very, I guess, different than I was before. Like, I'm just so happy to be singing and happy to be putting out music and happy to be on stage. The rest is just a bonus, really. I don't take my passion for granted anymore. That's for sure. Not that I did. I just really don't now. And I understand struggle so much that I more than ever really strive to help others as well. I really try to uplift all my friends and make sure that everyone that's involved in the collaborative process, my songwriters, my producers, are all getting as much hype as I am. So yeah, it's very tribal, very communal now.
All of that. Let me just tell you, your aura is just so incredible. You came and chatted with us at Miami Music Week, and just everything about you is positive and happy. And that's so good to see after everything that you've been through.
Thank you. It's so funny. I had a spontaneous secret performance at the Ellen DeGeneres show earlier this week. She had me open up for her show, and I played acoustic, and I was just started talking about my life and my career in the midst of it, and everyone was laughing. Turns out, I don't know about my aura or what's changed, but maybe I'll be a stand-up comedian now too.
Yeah. There's nothing to laugh about.
Apparently having a brain injury made me funny.
Well, let's talk about more positive stuff. Before we chat all about I Go Dance and find out how it was born, let's get to know Kiesza a little better with Finky's firsts.
All right. Once I have a brain injury, so if my memory doesn't fail me, I'll do my best.
I appreciate the disclaimer, but you're going to be just fine. Now, I love finding out the origin story of artists. You have an interesting story growing up because not only were you a sailing instructor, but I saw that you also joined the Royal Canadian Navy Reserves, which, as a fellow Canadian, I was born in Montreal. Merci beaucoup.
Montreal. Oh, bonjour.
Bonjour. Merci for doing that. Merci for your service. But when you were growing up, I know that your first song you wrote at like 18, right?
Yeah. I'd say my first serious song, like when I really got the songwriter's bug.
Gotcha. Now, was music the first thing you wanted to get into growing up, or was there something else you wanted to be?
No, music was like my therapy. Music was like basically my escape. And I was under the impression, because my parents raised me to like think I had to be a doctor or something or an engineer. I was just under the impression that I wouldn't be able to make it as a musician. So I did it only as a passion. And it's beautiful because it really was the passion that made me have a career. I did not think I could have a career in music. It just seemed like it was like meeting a celebrity. Like, I'm never going to meet that person, or having a celebrity crush. You just know deep down you're never going to date them.
Well, what's so crazy about you saying that is now you are the celebrity and people are going around talking about dating you.
It was a wild shift because becoming a celebrity happened so fast that I wasn't able to process it. So I was walking around really confused all the time. I was like, are you sure?
Well, I'm so glad it happened for you. That is so amazing. Now, do you remember that first song that you wrote at 18?
Yeah.
How was it?
About a guy I had a crush on.
Of course.
And the lines are like, it's like so poetic. I think it was, eyes like a movie star, longing for me. You look like a fantasy. I want to feel it. Take me away like you know that you should. Do unto me as a script written really good. I mean, it's not the best writing. It's not terrible, but I mean, I've improved. Do unto me as a script written really good. I feel like I could have topped those lyrics now.
All I'm going to say, though, is look at the memory. Your memory is awesome.
Well, the funny thing about music is music stays. When you die, apparently, the last part of your brain to die is the part that holds the memory of music. And when you have dementia, even like music can bring back your memory. So there's just something magical about music that no, that's not true. I did forget. I started classical guitar training before the car crash. And anything that was in more, like, hadn't been committed to long-term memory, wiped. I have no memory of any of the guitar songs I had learned just before the car crash. Like, all of my classical training that I had worked on, gone.
That is so crazy.
Yeah, that was weird and sad.
But, I mean, that's something you could pick up again. It's not a problem.
Yeah, slowly. I mean, stuff like that, still, I have to, anything that takes a lot of mental capacity, I have to pace myself. Even choreography, I have to take time, because if I do it too quickly, it's like I just suddenly go into a daze. I get stunned, and it's like I get separated from my body in a weird way, and I lose access to myself. So my brain will just turn the switch off. It'll be like, no. Like I did a dance class with one of my dancers the other day, and I was like, I'm going to do this. And then halfway through the class, I was doing really good. Halfway, brain just turned the switch off, and I was just, by the time we got to the end, I just kept getting worse and worse. And I was like, you know what? I tried.
And that's all that matters.
Yeah. So like for my show and for my upcoming tour, which is in October, it's my first tour back, actually, first headline tour since the car crash, which is a big deal. But I have to really start ahead of time and commit everything slowly to long-term memory and not do it too quickly so that my brain can keep up with the pace. So I've figured out my injury a lot and I figured out how to work around it as much as I can so that other people don't really know that I'm dealing with it. And it's a lot of people say just tell people when you're going through it. But I honestly, like, I found so many workarounds and I don't like to get people sad and depressed. So I'm just like, I'll give them the best sides of me and I'll keep the rest to myself. I let people know if I'm really struggling. I will let them know.
Well, listen, I'm not a doctor, but I do play one on the radio. Please feel free to take your time. Take as much time as you need. Now, how did your real first name turn into Kiesza with a Z?
Me being like hyper competitive child, my brother Blair decided to change his name and put a Y in it, and I one-upped him and added a Z into mine. So it was me being a really competitive little sister.
That is hilarious.
Yeah. There was no other reason. I was like, well, if he's getting a Y, I want to put a Z into my name.
I love it.
My mom was like, we'll just legally keep your name the way it is, but you can spell it like that. And I spelled it like that ever since.
That is so awesome. Now, when you were deciding on the artist project name, was Kiesza always the first name you were going to go with, or were there other names you were considering?
Yeah, no, it was always, I never considered a name. This is the thing, is because I never thought I was going to be a musician as a career. So I wasn't like, what's my name going to be, you know? And everyone was like, definitely don't go with Kiesza. No one's going to be able to say that or spell it. So I was like, right, of course. And it's funny because when things did pick up, like my first label, they begged me to change my name. They're like,
Stop.
hey, you still have a chance. You can still do it. And I was just like, you know what? They'll figure it out.
Oh, I'm so glad you kept it because it is such an iconic name.
Thank you. Yeah, it's definitely like I can go with the one name wonder because literally no one else has that spelling.
Nobody.
It's funny because the name is a Norwegian name and it normally has a J in it. So my mom thought she was like helping people out by spelling it different, and then I went ahead and changed it more. So it's just like no one has this spelling except one person in the Philippines named their daughter after me. So there is someone in the Philippines I know for certain named Kiesza.
Wow.
But I bet they pronounce it different.
It's probably like Kiesza.
Like Kiesza. Or nobody ever gets the pronunciation right on the first try. Like one maybe, but they always say Kiesza or Kiesza or I don't know. It's okay though. People ask me if I get mad about that, and I actually kind of like hearing all the versions of my name. It's almost like I have a new personality every country that I go to.
That's kind of like Tove Lo, because hers is actually Tove Lo, and she's okay with everybody mispronouncing it.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, she's from Sweden or Norway? Sweden, right?
Sweden, yeah.
Yeah, it's Tove Lo. It's like more like yeah, it's like Tuvlu. We're not even saying her name right.
We're not.
Like you trying to say her name right, you're not saying it right. That I know because it's like in the whole. There's melody that goes with the Scandinavian names too. Like my name is Kiesza instead.
Well, we're just gonna stick with Tove Lo and Kiesza. We're good with that. Now you opened up for Demi Lovato in the past. You opened up for
that was a good show.
Lindsey Sterling. You've done your own tour in the past, and you're about to kick off your tour again. I mean, we had you at Jingle Ball a bunch of years ago performing live, which is great. But
you must have me back.
Yes, absolutely.
Pitching myself.
Do you remember your first time performing?
Yes, I was 7 actually. I was really shy, believe it or not. People don't believe this about me. I was like clinically shy. But my mom was in this thing called the Young Canadians when she was a kid, and she told me about it. And then I wanted to audition for it, and she was like, are you sure you don't like to even speak? But I learned this song. I come from Alabama with a banjo on my knee. So I was like, come from Alabama with a banjo on my knee. And I auditioned and I didn't make it. But the next year I was so determined. So I was like, I'm going to get in. So I learned Rockin' Robin. And I sang it like Michael Jackson, like Baby Michael Jackson. Like I went for it. And I got in. And literally my first performance was for 30,000 people at the age of like 8.
Oh my God.
Needless to say, I got the bug early.
That's like, one way to get over being shy.
Yeah, but I wanted to be an eye surgeon at the age of 8. I was like very determined to do surgery on eyes. I just was obsessed with eyes. I was just like, damn, these things are cool. I want to like open them up. So
Well, it's so crazy that you mentioned about being shy and that people don't believe it, because I'm an introvert as well, and people don't understand it with me being on the radio and getting on stage in front of thousands and thousands of people. But I'm an ambivert, so I'm introverted when I'm to myself, but extroverted when I have to be.
You know, I think the greatest artists are like that. You notice a lot of actors are very shy off camera, and then they get on camera and you're like, wait, where did that come from? I think it helps art because when we go into ourselves, we connect so deeply with ourselves, and it's like we go into this intense meditative state where we're literally like syncing up with the ether, and we're like, everybody out, stay away, I am connected. And then suddenly it all comes out. So it comes out with just as equal energy as it built up inwardly. So there's just a lot of power behind, I think, people who can go into both spaces. At least I've noticed, because I still do get very introverted. Like, I went and lived in a cabin in Norway last year for 6 months with no Wi-Fi.
Oh my God, how?
I was just like, I needed to know if I really could come back, and I needed to connect with my soul, because it is, I'm not gonna lie, like I love it, but there is a lot of pain involved with my comeback, and it is like, I have so many hard days still, but I had to like go just really ask myself, like, can I do this? And then all these creative ideas started coming, and suddenly I'm making a movie to every song, and like the question sort of answered itself. But I realized, like, as long as I'm looking out for myself and doing it at my own pace, and if things go slower than what the industry deems like appropriate or whatever, like, I'm like, if I don't meet all the algorithms and everything because I have to take care of myself one day, or I can't post. It's so hard. Everything's algorithm based, so you have to be so consistent. But I have days when I can't get out of bed still sometimes, or I have a really bad headache and I need to sleep in. And I was like, you know what? That's okay. I'll do it at my own pace. What it will be. The only thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give as much love as I can to as many people as I can. And I'm going to try to uplift as many people as I can in the process. And my hope is that coming back, I'll help open up other people to feel like they can follow their passions and dreams, and they don't have to compare themselves to anyone else. And it's honestly, it's been really, I've been seeing that happen already. So I'm really excited for this chapter. It's really about unfolding, and not just myself, but the whole tribe, all of us.
I really appreciate you saying that, because, and this is in no way in comparison of a bad accident and brain damage, but I suffer from clusters and migraines, and
I have cluster headaches.
It is so bad.
Along with everything else.
Yeah, so you know that, I mean, they're nicknamed suicide headaches because they're so bad.
The worst in the world. Holy cow.
Yesterday, I was literally in bed yesterday from 4 p.m. until 1 a.m. just in the fetal position in excruciating pain. And one of the thoughts going through my head was, oh my God, I've got to post. Oh my God, what am I going to do? I've got to, and you just don't, you because we're such workhorses, we don't even think about, no, hold on. We got to take care of ourselves first. Yeah. Don't worry about this social media world. Worry about yourself first. So I'm so glad you said that.
Also, I actually, I discovered one person who cured cluster headaches, and you should call me after, because I'll tell you all about it.
Oh my God, please.
Yeah, it's not easy, but it's supposed to be incurable, and it's very manageable.
So I actually do Botox every 3 months for the migraines, and thankfully it's broken my cycle. I mean, I used to be on really strong medication for them that didn't keep them away. Yeah. And I was like, why am I even on this if it's not keeping them away? But the Botox has broken the cycle. The only problem is that when I deal with barometric pressure or towards the end of the Botox cycle, that's when they start breaking through and breaking through even worse because they haven't been here. So yeah, I'll reach out to you afterwards. I appreciate that. Yeah.
After we're done, I'm going to tell you all about it, because I thought there was no hope. On top of my brain injury, I developed cluster headaches. God. So it was like brain damage and cluster headaches. Oh. And it's rare for a woman to get cluster headaches as well. So I know what they feel like. They're the worst pain in the world. They're actually considered one of the worst pains that a human can feel. So I really feel for you.
Well, we'll chat later.
Well, we should hang out.
Yes, absolutely. In a dark room.
I know we need like a radio show for cluster headaches.
Yes. Now on to happier stuff. Do you remember the first dance song that made you fall in love with EDM?
Oh, that's a good one. It's kind of cheesy, but I Will Survive. Is that considered a dance song? I'd say so.
I mean, the 70s, yeah, Gloria Gaynor.
That was like my karaoke song, and it still is to this day. So I have it's ingrained in my whole life. It's just I think that I've been dancing that. But Michael Jackson was my earliest. My mom was obsessed with Michael Jackson to the point where she literally, I have two brothers, and she tried to make us into the Canadian version of the Jackson. She got us silver, sparkly hats, and literally somehow convinced Pearl Jam to let us open for them, and then pulled us out because she was like, you guys have never been on stage, and putting you on stage with Pearl Jam sounds like a terrible idea for your first ever show. So she ended up pulling back. So I didn't get to open for Pearl Jam as my first ever performance, sadly. But
you did mention that your first performance was in front of 30,000 people, so I'd say you did pretty well.
I know, it was it was really meant to be. It was my calling, and I feel that very deeply. I do, especially now when I sing. I feel like I connect very emotionally with people that I'm singing to in my audience. We literally lock in, and we have this emotional experience. And I did have that before, but it's on another level now. So that's why I'm so excited to tour again, because I know it's not just going to be a show; it's going to be a whole emotional experience that we all share. And I have some wild things planned for it as well.
Well, I can't wait to see it. And speaking of emotions, I saw the video you posted about how a good cry is as good of a release for you as a good dance.
Yeah.
What's the first thing that when you think about it, it instantly makes you cry, happy or sad?
My best friend who passed away.
My condolences. Yeah. I'm sorry about that.
As I'm not crying. I'm crying. I actually just went to a memorial. I just biked 71 miles in her honor
Congratulations.
Last week. Yeah, her dad really wanted to think of her, and I was like, I will fly to Madison, Wisconsin and bike with you. And we did. That
is amazing. Now, was that your first time biking that many miles?
Yes, but I won't lie. I did rent an electric bike.
Wait a second. As somebody that cycles a lot, I am offended right now, Kiesza.
It was just a safety mechanism, just in case. I was like, I don't want to die. Dad, he bikes every day, so I was like, I'm not gonna make it. I have to do this. So I honestly didn't have the motor on most of the time.
Well, listen, I do Bike MS every year. And so this past time I did 65. I've done 100 miles in one time. I'm just happy that you got in the saddle and did it. That is so amazing.
We can bike and we can
talk about clusters.
We have so much in common.
I need to go online and order a BFFFF little pendant to send you.
Matching tattoos.
Yes. Now, finally, in honor of I Go Dance going number 1, where is the first place that you love to dance?
It's bringing me back to 3-year-old ballet class. Good toes, bad toes, and then. My mom did this thing, which it was either genius or it was super traumatic, but she would put me in dance competitions, but in with kids that were older than me, knowing that I wouldn't win, because she wanted me to teach me how to be a good loser.
Wow.
So I did all these dance competitions and I lost all of them except one I did win. But I was I'm looking back, I'm like, you know what? When I don't get things, it doesn't faze me. And I'm like, maybe my mom was a genius.
That is kind of a brilliant parenting move.
Yeah, she's like, I want her to know what it's like to lose and get through it multiple times. So she, yeah. So I was in a dance class with kids that were definitely older than me and doing the competitions with them and losing all the time.
So are you still a good loser?
Yeah. You know what? I realized there is the winning is the journey. It really is. I mean, coming back through this whole hard recovery, the growth that I've been through as a person, also knowing that I can get through something that horrific and come out on top. Not only that, this time I'm doing it independent. I have no label. This, I Go Dance went number 1, fully independent, with a brain injury. So yay.
That is so incredible.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying this. I'm enjoying the process. I'm enjoying the people. I'm leaning into the experience. Whereas before it was like always projecting to the next step, like, okay, what's next? What's next? What's next? And kind of missing the meat and potatoes of all of it. I wasn't smelling the flowers and I wasn't saying no to things. Like, we can only do so much as humans. And as much as like when it rains, it pours, you can't say yes to everything. You have to be like, no, I have to sleep. I have to actually clean my house and be human and hang out with my friends and have board game night and stuff like that. So I've just been prioritizing things that I forgot to prioritize, and I didn't know they were priorities in the past. And my life is so enriched now. Like, I have such good friends. And when I first got in the car crash, I realized so quickly that most of the people I was spending all my time with, a lot of like big celebrities and stuff, they didn't even call me when I got sick, and I sort of was no longer relevant because I was no longer in the spotlight. And the people that really came forward were people that I was not spending that much time with. I was like, I'm so busy. I'm in this country, that country. And I've reconnected with my childhood best friend who I hadn't seen in like 15 years. And she was so supportive. And now we're like best friends again. And we do things together. We have, I bring her into my experience, but she brings me into her experience. And I just appreciate every individual, I think, more equally than I did in the past. And I really am passionate about human beings in a way that I wasn't before. And having that added to my life now, it has just made my life so much more rich, really. It's full of love. I'm just like, I'm overwhelmed with love everywhere I go now.
That is so incredible to hear. You know what the only sad part about that is that as humans, it takes something like that, like almost tragic, for us to realize that we need to readdress our priorities in life. That is so crazy.
It's so true. But you know what? I think that's part of our journey and all of our individual expansion. I think we come here and we have our growth that we've been given, and we try our very best, and it's okay. It's okay. Like, nothing in life is perfect, and including our life. So we don't have to be perfect. We just have to try our very best.
I love that. Well, speaking of perfect, let's talk about this number one. How was I Go Dance born?
It was funny. It's born out of a deep conversation we were talking about my co-writer, Kay, she goes by Kay Sotomayor. She and I were talking about how everything in life, the light and the dark, is all in some way connected to self-healing. And our mind, our soul, it's always trying to heal us, even if sometimes it works against us. And if you really look for the healing angle and everything, you can have a lot more compassion for people, and especially people that you would normally hate. But then you look at life and look at places like strip clubs and stuff that are seen as really dark places. But if you actually analyze the art of a pole dancer, it's this magnificent dance form. It's angelic in so many ways. And it then led us to writing a stripper pole song. And
this just took a turn.
Yeah, we're like, I know, it's like this. I know, really, it was like this deep conversation that we're like, well, on that note, this stripper song is great. But if you go to the verse, you can kind of hear tidbits of that conversation in it, because it's like, I know why you came. You don't have to say, I can be the love that you want to feel. We can play the game, but you know your place. I might take what you got, but you get the thrill. I know what I am, baby. What are you? I'm the paradise in your broken mirror. Heal you from above. That's what angels do. You create your hell. I make it disappear. So there is tidbits of that conversation in the verse.
It's so funny. Now that you mention what it's about, it totally changes the lyrics.
It is a very deep song. It's disguised. It's like the eggshell. It's like there's a shell, but there's a lot of depth underneath. While you go to your pole dancing class, you can think about.
Now, when did you guys write it?
I don't remember the exact date, but I remember it being warm outside, and yet that was in LA, so that would explain why it was warm. I could go back to my voice memos. I'm going to say it was probably about 2 years ago, because maybe a year and a half ago. It was like a 2-year process. I wrote a lot of the music, and then I had to take my sabbatical in Norway. So that was a 6-month break, and then was like, okay, let's do it. I'm going to say about 2 years ago
Now,
when it started, like when we began the process.
now, something I love to find out about songs is how many different V's there are from when you start working on it, all the tweaking that goes on to when it finally gets released and mastered. Are Kiesza songs normally revised a lot? Are there a lot of versions, or is it pretty? Yeah. Oh, really?
I think there's like 11 versions of every song at least. Like a lot of my songs I'll sit and write by myself. Like Strangers, you'll see on the co-write, there's a lot of writers, but the lyrics and the melody, I wrote all those by myself at 4 a.m. But like, for example, I Go Dance, I like to have somebody there to bounce ideas off of. And Kay and I connect so much as humans, and we're in a similar growth experience in our lives. So I brought her into my project as my mirror, as my co-writer. And it was supposed to be for some records, but we were just having the best time. Like we were dying laughing on the ground, rolling around. And I swear Sugar Jesus, who was the producer, I don't know how he got through the process with us. And then we'd have the wildest conversations, and we'd be in the studio, like, and he'd just be sitting there and we'd be talking about like living past lives together and all this stuff. And he's just like, okay, is the lyric gonna come at some point? Like literally making this project was as fun as it sounds. And like the mysterious disappearance of Edit Place, like that was written because I went dino digging in Wyoming and fell in love with my Airbnb host and got him to recite a poem that he wrote in my phone and turned that into a song, and then wrote it about a story because he's a historian that he told me.
That is amazing.
Like, there's so much life and living in the music, and I love that about it. But you're talking about versions. So like I would go away on some adventure, come back and be like, you know what? We need the sound of wind. Or like Kay's obsessed with whales. So there's whales hidden through the whole project. They're like, really? Yeah, because whales are so healing. And so we put magical healing whale sounds. They're all secret. You hear like in little places, and there's low whale frequencies. And like there's a song coming up next on the next volume 2, which is like there's a very loud like whale. So Kay is obsessed with whales, and we literally listed her as our professional whale list.
Well, now I know why when I listen to Kiesza music, I feel so healed.
I mean, it was made in a healing frequency. Every song is definitely, I think, healing. And I really think music takes on the vibration of the moment. And the vibration of the moment of all this music is extremely healing and full of love and joy. So whether it's about pole dancing or some lady running with gold because of her outlaw lovers getting shot to death, there's love in all of this. And like it's so serious, but not. Like I have a song on the next one where I'm literally yodeling.
Really?
But it sounds it sounds so serious.
Oh, I can't wait to hear it.
I'm just like, you know what? I mean, yodelers will not. They'll be like, that's not yodeling. But I'm on the yodeling journey.
Well, congratulations on this journey that you've been on. Congratulations on the comeback. Congratulations on I Go Dance going #1. Congratulations on the upcoming tour. I can't wait to see you performing on stage again. Kiesza, it has been so awesome chatting with you. Thank you so much for your time with us on America's Dance 30.
Thanks for having me, and thanks for allowing me to come on in my pajamas.
Next time.
Actually, you know what? Okay, I was out working on my orchestra show, which is in October. I'm playing with a symphony, and one of my orchestrators lives in Nelson, BC, in Canada, and 40 minutes, I think north of where we were, there's a rave in the middle of the mountains, and one of my friends were playing. So they're like, "Do you want to crash our set?" And I was like, "It's gonna destroy my head, but I will do it for you because you're my friend." So I ended up getting these overalls that are like raver overalls. And I wore them to the Ellen show, so I still have my Ellen accent.
Oh my God, I love it. All I know is next time, don't be surprised when I'm in my pajamas. That's all I'm going to say.
No need. I mean, they're like those, they're so soft. They're like, they could be pajamas. They could be a show outfit. They're so bright. They could be anyone on drugs will definitely be your best friend. Which I don't encourage. I don't do drugs.
Disclaimer.
Disclaimer.
I absolutely love it. Kiesza, it's great chatting with you.
Thank you. Yeah, let's do pajamas next time. Pajama party.